So I am excited to have on the show with me today, oh my gosh, a lady that I have recently met, but feel like I've known her for a while, just through the course of our conversation.
Right.
Camille Robinson, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a complete honor. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have you. So tell us, Camille, a little bit about just your why. So you got the Moments of Joy podcast, like you got a lot of stuff going on. Just tell us your why for what you're doing right now, entrepreneurially.
My why, I think it just began with the desire to not want to give someone else so much of myself. I think we work so much to build up someone else's empire, and everything else kind of suffers. We suffer, our mental stability suffers, our home suffers, and it's really to build up someone else's dream that we don't even know.
Right.
So after crying many nights in my career, I finally just talked to my husband and decided to take the leap of faith to build my own empire, so to speak.
Girl, I hear you. And it is interesting, right? When we, like, when you come to that realization of, wait, I'm doing all this for somebody else. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's
sometimes blood, sweat, and literal tears. And it's for what, and many times a face that we would never see. And, bluntly speaking, for an African-American woman, a face that if we did see, we'd be paid absolutely no mind.
Absolutely. So tell me, what was the thing, Camille, that made you just say, you know what, it's time for me to just launch out on my own?
So I had been dabbling in entrepreneurship probably for the past 10 years. I would cater on the side, and then I had a nonprofit organization where I worked with children, and we had a step team because in school I used to like to step. That was a talent.
I didn't know that. Girl, me too. I didn't
really?
know that.
Get out of here.
Yes, I have been in many a step show. I swear. So for the listeners, for those listening and watching, what you do not realize is when I first got a chance to have a conversation with Camille, it was almost like every 3 to 4 sentences, I was like, me too. Like, oh my goodness, me too. So we just found another thing. Okay, we're the same person. Keep going.
I just really tickled at that. That is so funny. And so, yes, I started a step team. And so we recently relocated from Connecticut, which is a small state, to Texas, which is huge, and specifically the Houston area. And I was at the top of my career in the culinary world, and I was miserable. And I was working almost 7 days a week, sometimes 12 hours or 13 hours a day. It was just so much. I was crying every day because I couldn't see the way out. I felt like I was decepted into taking this position, which paid really well, but I was literally miserable. I had no time for my family. We have an autistic 3-year-old. He's going to be 3 soon. And my husband was going to all the special needs appointments, doing all the intakes. And I felt horrible as a mom that I didn't even know, and what they were talking about. And, sometimes dads don't always know how to communicate what they learned at the meetings.
Like they told you what?
Yes. So it was just really weighing on me very heavily. And so I just looked at my husband one day and I said, oh, I just finished crying. He said, again? He was like, enough, Camille. You can do this. And I had already at that point began podcasting and starting to make a little bit of income and, desiring to start a clothing apparel line. So I just said, you know what? I watched my husband do it for 5 years. I can do this. And so I literally left and you know, plowed through, and here I am, full-time entrepreneur, and it feels so good. It's so liberating,
isn't it?
To just, you know, wake up in the morning and it's like, you know, it's about my family and our needs and building, and you know, money is a currency, so we're receiving it just the same as if we work for someone else. And I think it's hard for, you know, the masses and a lot of people to really respect that, oh, you're a business owner, but they rather respect you say you work for this Fortune 500 company, you know, rather than say you're building your own. You know, love that. But I wake up with such joy and just peace, knowing that, you know, I'm not getting a phone call and I'm not going to have to run into an office, and, you know. And you know what else I thought of this morning? I never worked in healthcare before, but I did when I came to Texas. I worked in education. I worked in corporate as a chef. Texas, I took a job in healthcare as a chef. And I was like, wow, Camille, you left right before COVID.
Oh, girl, timing.
Yes, timing. No, I wasn't built to be, and you know, kudos and God bless the healthcare workers, but I wasn't built to be.
Absolutely. I love how things, you know, fall into play. And, you know, there's a couple of things, and I want to get into the podcast, your podcast in particular, in a second. But you said something about, you know, your husband has said to you, like, go ahead, like, you can do this. And the thing that just popped into my mind, I know we both know, like, support is important on this journey. But another thing, like, whether somebody is watching and is married or not, or has a spouse that's supportive or not, the fact of getting around people, you know what I mean? Who have experienced it and can help you say, trust me, this is a road you can turn like that. How much of a role did that play? Like, that support?
Oh, it played a major role. And I think that if I didn't have that support, I'd probably still be working. Because unfortunately, validation, it can be very powerful, and at the same time, it can be very deadly. It can kill your dream, but at the same time, it can build up your dream. But it played such a heavy weight. And one of my best friends is actually a full-time entrepreneur as well. I talked to her the other day, and just, you know, stories and sharing, you know, our hard moments is really what gets us through. So it doesn't have to be a spouse, but it can, you know, a friend, you know, look, we just met and we're bonding and have so many similarities. It can be anyone.
Right. Yes, I love it. You know, so when we take a step back for a second, and let's just think about your podcast, and I want you to go back to, because I can't remember how long you've been doing Moments of Joy, but I want you to just go back to, like, as you look now, like, as a full-time entrepreneur, you had already been building up your podcast, you had done some other side hustle stuff. Like, just talk to me a little bit about the journey of building up an audience.
Building up the journey. I'm sorry, it broke up a little bit.
Oh, no problem. Just talk to me about your journey of building up an audience with the podcast and that type of thing.
I think that it began with building with who I knew. So it started off with family and friends. And I remember saying just recently the other day that, you know, family and friends is wonderful, but it's not what you want in the end. Family and friends support is not going to bring you a consistent income and to support and encourage you, but you want authentic audience. So I think that from family, friends, people that have known me sharing, it helped to create an authentic audience. And so authentic audience, authentic followers is what's important. And also not really focusing on who's following, how many people are following, you know, because in podcasting, you'll have really good weeks, and then you'll have weeks where you're like, where are you? Where is everybody?
Where are the listeners? Nobody's
right. Yeah. But just to, you know, staying consistent definitely helps. But it's been a long road. I've been doing this now for August will be 2 years.
Okay, awesome. So now, how do you feel? I know I encourage people, like, if you're thinking about full-time entrepreneurship, you know, one, there's a lot of different things that you can start and do and all this good stuff, but I love and fully support that idea of just like building an audience, like while you're figuring out through things, like while you're going along and all this other stuff. So I love like hearing that, okay, from your perspective, hey, I've been building all this stuff on Moments of Joy. Like, I've got an audience. I can do different things. Maybe it's your clothing line. Maybe it's something. Maybe it's this. Like, what do you say to the person who they're thinking about full-time entrepreneurship, but they're just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to figure out where to start. And so even with, I'll use this for an example, my culinary career. Once I started to podcast full time, I thought to myself, will I ever use that again? But I really feel like you should use every single gift that you have and use it and do it with the joy, you know, out of the joy of your heart and doing it, but seeing the door to creating income. So just by, you know, allowing my husband to use me here because he's a videographer, and you know, me cooking, we got a contract here to cook in our house from a major brand here in Texas to you know, cook and create their products. But it wasn't just for him, it was for me. Now my husband's like, you should make a virtual cookbook. So I wasn't really thinking about doing it. I was ready to put to rest my culinary career. But I'm like, I know how to cook. Everyone's always asking me a recipe and I don't use recipes. So I'm thinking about using a virtual cookbook, making a virtual cookbook, but use whatever talents you have. Like I said, I used to step as a little girl and then made a step team. Whatever, even if you know how to sew, there's a lot of people that don't know how to sew, you know? If you, like you have dreads, if you know how to lock your dreads, there's a lot of people that are starting dreads and don't know where to start, you know? Yeah. There's a way to make a stream of income out of everything. I remember I had my son, my youngest, my 3-year-old, and I was on maternity leave, and as you know, on maternity leave, you know, your income gets a little tight. So I started couponing. And I became an extreme couponer, and I had all these products, but then I was like, I have an idea. We need the car fixed and we don't have the money. I'm getting ready to teach people how to coupon. And I taught people how to coupon and charged $10 entry fee into this Facebook group. And before you know it, I had thousands of dollars just from that. So you can literally.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. And this is what I say. Like when you there is something about, I don't know the best way to describe this, but when you are in a world for so long, so like if you've been in the 9-to-5 world for a good period of time, and most of what you see is, hey, I know how to go to work, get a paycheck every couple of weeks, and that's life. Blah, blah, blah. It's not until you've either taken enough action on your own or surrounded yourself with people who make their money regardless of a paycheck that you realize and start opening your mind to, oh, this is possible. Oh, that is possible. That's possible. And so so everybody just listening right now, let that be like your encouragement. I mean, Ms. Camille, everything you just said is essentially, these are things that you possess or you've experienced or skills that you have. And people want to learn different things. There are billions of people.
Yeah. Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love it.
just like there are billions of podcasts. As I started to like listen and get into the podcasting world, there are podcasts for dog lovers, for people who love mystery, crime, for plant lovers. There's everything. So in that way, in the same way, there's room for you to do what you love to do and make an income.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I love it. So now tell me, Camille, tell me, as you've done the side hustles, you were doing the podcasts, you have a family to deal with, um, in trying to be entrepreneurial and work full time.
Mm-hmm.
How did you kind of balance that out? What was hard? What was easy?
I think the easy part was really just doing it. My friends always tell me I have a gift to really execute, and so I never let something fall to the ground. If I say I'm going to do it, then I'm going to do it, no matter how long it really takes. But I'm going to make sure that it's worked out. One of the hard parts was trying to find a schedule of consistency, really with my youngest who's autistic. But I'm realizing now I give myself days. So I might say Friday's my working day, Wednesday's my working day, but I give all of the day to him on other days. If it's Tuesday or if it's Thursday, I'll pay all the attention, I'll give all the attention to my family. But on Wednesdays and Fridays, I'll give half of the attention to them. I still have to be mom. I still have to, be a wife, but these are the days that I've allocated to working. Like I told my husband, I'm sorry, I don't work on the weekends. And he looked at me. He's like, you don't. You're an entrepreneur. You have to. I said, no, I don't have to. I put my own hours in place, and I'm not going to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning working. I'm not going to do all of that ridiculous stuff. I'll wake up early, but I'm not going to be up half the night. I'm going to have, restrictions, because I think it's like this false notion that billionaires don't sleep at night, and they've had, sleepless nights and have to hustle and work extra hard. Yes, it is working hard, but that doesn't mean you can't sleep at night. And I think I've had something really irregular, or maybe not irregular, but not normal happen. And so before I came to Texas, I was the personal chef to a billionaire. His net worth was $5.5 billion, and he passed away, but he was the owner of Conair Corporation, and that's who makes our hair dryers, our blow dryers, and so, here I am, the executive chef, and just taking it as another job. But when I came here, I was like, Camille, wow, no, you were his personal chef. And so it helped me to see how much of, he was a regular guy. He didn't drive a Bentley. He drove a regular Chevy truck that, he didn't wear Versace and Armani. He dressed regular. And in the wintertime, wore a regular Old Navy bubble coat that you wouldn't even, notice if he walked by you that he was a billionaire. He was very humble. So I got to see and have an imprint of how billionaires act, and it's normal. And so I think that he went to sleep at night as well.
You were like, listen,
right,
this man has got billions, and
yes,
I'm pretty sure he's getting his rest.
Yes. Yes. Yes, rest in peace to Mr. Lee Rizzuto.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So I have got to ask you, so being a personal chef, right, to this billionaire, are there any other things that you just kind of picked up on, like from an entrepreneurial standpoint, that's like, like things that you might have taken note of in your brain or anything since you were so close?
One of the major things was that it was a family empire. And so the whole family built into this. He wasn't the first person to start it. His mother created a yellow bird blow dryer. And if you can remember back in the day, maybe your mom may have used this bright yellow blow dryer on you. I know my mom had one. She had a black comb. And I didn't really remember it until I saw a picture of it. But his mother was a hairdresser. And so she worked with his father and cousins that came from Italy, and they were the beginning of Conair. And then the son took it over, and all the cousins of those cousins worked together to build this empire. So it was a family doing. He didn't do it by himself, although he was the owner and the CEO, the one who built it up. They did it together. That was number one. Number two, the thing I learned is that they didn't just obtain the billions from owning their own company, but they bought companies from other people. So Conair is the owner of Cuisinart kitchen products. They're the owners of Babus Pro hair products from Australia. They're the owners of Allegro, and this is like a biology kind of company for skincare and hair care. So they own so many different companies that you never know. So with their wealth, they've bought these huge companies and they're under the umbrella. So when you get to a certain level of wealthiness, don't be afraid to then invest your money or purchase someone else's company.
Yes, I love that diversify.
Yeah.
Like this one and this one and this. Let me tell you, my day is coming when I'm going to be buying up everything. My day is coming.
That's right. Yep. Absolutely.
It's coming. I love it.
Yeah.
So what might be, Camille, just any words of wisdom, any advice you would give to the person who's like, oh, I'm feeling stressed, and entrepreneurship is something that I know is in me, because I think that's important, right? This is not just something for anybody.
Right.
But what is kind of your words of wisdom you would say to that person that's like, oh, like I feel like it's in me, I just don't know if it's something I can do full time?
I think that a very important thing is to not seek validation from people that are fearful themselves. So if you're thinking about it, kind of try to keep it to yourself, maybe talk to God about it if you're one that, believes in him, but, talk to people that are business like-minded. Now, sometimes like with our parents, there can be a generational gap, and they come from a generation where you need to have the job, you need to have the benefits, you need to have, well, what do you mean you're leaving your job to build a company?
Been there.
You want to stay away from sharing what you're building with people like that, because validation seeking can kill the seed that's inside of you, and you can just demolish the whole idea of becoming an entrepreneur. And you know what? Seek encouragement from other sources. I just watched Monique Rodriguez, who is the owner of Mael Organic Hair Company. I use the hair products, but I saw her on the Reels just before this just before this recording, and I was like, I'm in tears, because she's this powerful Black woman, but she's just like me, or just like you. Seek your encouragement from even sources like that. Watch Michelle Obama's Becoming. Watch, these powerful women, doing things on Netflix, wherever you can, pull a source of encouragement and keep yourself encouraged. There's a gospel singer named Donald Lawrence. He created a song that encourage yourself.
Yes.
So encourage yourself on the days where you feel, low, or maybe like I'm not able or equipped to do this. You can do it. And if you're single and you're not married, just create an exit plan. Save, stop buying things, and prepare for the day where you're gonna go and launch on your own, and start testing out your ideas. Start selling, and even if you get one bite, that's good enough. Yep.
I always say, if you can get one, you can get 100.
That's
if you
right.
get 100, you can get 1,000.
That's right.
Trust it.
Yeah.
I love it. And I do want to mention, because I don't think we said this earlier, but I think we kind of alluded to it. But Camille's husband is also an entrepreneur. So for those of you in your head that may be thinking, oh, well, she was able to do that, like her husband has a stable job and all this sort of stuff. But that's not that. He's an entrepreneur himself. Yeah. So they both now have that shared risk, which I love.
Right. So we have to keep pushing. It's no stopping. Yep.
Yep, I love it.
In days where he's discouraged, we have to be a strong one. And in days when I'm discouraged, he has to be the strong one.
Yep, I love that. So Camille, if people listening or watching are like, oh, I want to hear more from this Camille Robinson,
Yeah.
How can they do it?
They can find me on the Moments of Joy podcast, wherever your podcasts are, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, and Google. And I am the Moments of Joy podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So just look for me under Moments of Joy podcast.
Awesome. So you guys make sure you go and check her out. Promise, guaranteed, you will love it. Camille, thank you so much for joining in. Oh, also, I'm going to make sure that Camille's info is in the show notes at CandiceSpears.com, so you can grab it there too. Camille, thank you, girl.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Thank you for always being so authentic. And I'm looking forward to continuing to build this friendship because we have 10 things in common now.
Girl, the list keeps growing. Like, it's just,
yes.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Camille. And watchers, please don't just say you put on it. I mean, a great evening whenever you're listening or watching, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon.